Let's kick it off with this one. Indiana's getting 7.5 points versus Notre Dame. Over-under is 51. Matt, what is your lean? What do you like about this game? What are your keys to the game? Stuff of that nature.
I feel like when this bracket came out, I feel like this is the game that has become the sneakiest game of the four to me, because I think everyone just kind of left Indiana for dead after the loss to Ohio State. That's probably the first game most people watch them play this year, and the last game, and they see the 11-1 and they just don't really think anything of it, and they just don't really buy it at all. And obviously there's some validity to that of how weak of a Big Ten schedule they played. But Notre Dame sitting over here, obviously they're the football brand. Indiana is not. But I don't know really what Notre Dame, these teams feel like they have almost identical resumes in terms of, yeah, they've stomped a lot of the weaker teams that they've played. But Indiana's won losses to Ohio State, and Notre Dame's won losses to Northern Illinois. Those are very different. So while 7.5, you said? Like, yeah. I feel like I'm thinking Indiana keeps this game closer. And man, I don't know if I'm going to pick Indiana to win, but I feel like I'm almost trying to convince myself that Indiana is going to win this game.
Yeah, I'm very conflicted on this game. I think between the Indiana Notre Dame game and the SMU Penn State game, you're going to get a tight game in one of them. I just don't know which one yet. My gut has not swung one way or the other. I usually get better at picking these games later in the week. Like usually Friday, I have a pretty good feeling about who's going to win. It's usually right. I don't have that feeling right now. I do agree with you. I think these two teams are semi-similar. I think they're both – I mean, Indiana does like to rely on the pass a little bit, but they're not an explosive team. They're more of a methodical, go on long drive, hit you with precision passes, short and intermediate. They do have some explosiveness, but again, that's versus lesser competition. I don't expect that versus Notre Dame. I honestly think it's going to come down to which quarterback doesn't make that untimely error in this game, because Riley Leonard is a great athlete, but I don't know if he's a great quarterback. I know I'm just going to be straight up. I don't think he is a great quarterback. I think he's a great athlete. I think Curtis Rourke is a good precision passer, like I said, but he's not going to be able to beat you with his legs. So you're able to get pressure on him. I do think he can make a mistake or two. And it's going to be interesting what quarterback this comes down to. I would take the under here. I think that's the easiest play on the board. But I'm going to take Indiana plus 7.5. I don't love it, but that's what I would take in this game. I don't love it though.
I'm with you there, because I think there's a chance they can win this game. Like, one thing I don't know what to make of is, I don't know if you've seen the ticket prices for some of these playoff games.
Oh, yeah.
And this is by far the most expensive average ticket, and I don't know what to make of that. Are the Hoosiers are they starving for this? They're like, hey, we've wanted to be a football school this whole time. Or is it like Notre Dame fans still scarred from Georgia taking over their stadium a few years back? Are they like, look, it doesn't matter the cost, we are going to buy every ticket in that stadium? I don't know what to make of it. Maybe SeatGeek or someone's got the stats on who's buying those playoff tickets. But at Notre Dame, I tend to think they're going to win this game, but I'm with you. I think Indiana can win this, so I would definitely take Indiana to cover the spread.
Yeah, I would as well. And I think the ticket prices have to do with these teams really don't play each other, and they're in-state rivals. And I think people just want to go to the game and experience it for – I don't even know the last time they played, honestly. But, yeah, it's crazy. I saw some screenshots.
Last
really?
Time
yes. So it's been what? That's 33 years. Yeah, it's been a very long time. So, and it's interesting because I saw the hotel prices at one point, like $1,100 a night by the stadium. So, the hotel company's just jacking up the rate because they know people are going to stay overnight. But that's crazy to me. I think it's going to be a fun game. This is the most expensive game. It's the game with the least amount of tickets left. Whereas like SMU Penn State, half that stadium could be empty. I saw the tickets on today with SeatGeek or whatever, and there were a lot left, which is very surprising. But again, you're not going to have very many students there, in my opinion, because they're going to be home on Christmas break. So
that's going to be fun. I guess geography is probably just a big factor that everyone in Indiana and in Bloomington and South Bend it's an easy trip to get to this one.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about this one. SMU versus Penn State. Over under here is 54 points. Um, I I don't know how I feel about this game. I really think this comes down to can Kevin Jennings make enough plays? Because SMU has some weapons on the outside. I think their offensive line's decent, but their defense isn't very good. Penn State, I think, will be able to stifle their offense for the most part, but I don't know because Kevin Jennings, like, guy has a lot of potential, and you see it very often. He's a good football player, but I don't know if I can trust him to make like a dozen 10 to 12 plays in this game, which they're going to need, like just based on him running around, scrambling, and making plays with his legs, or extending plays and throwing downfield. Because that's what I think it's going to take. They're going to have to hit some explosive plays because you can not methodically go down the field on Penn State with this defense. Oregon had to hit explosive plays. They did go on a couple long drives, but for the most part, it was a lot of explosive plays by their speedy wide receivers. And I don't think SMU has anyone like Tez Johnson, which really helped out Oregon in that game, beating up the Penn State secondary. So it's going to be interesting. And can they block Abdul Carter? Like, a lot of teams struggle with that, and SMU's offensive line is not nearly as good as the other teams that have struggled with him. So that's going to be very interesting as well.
Yeah, I agree with all those points. I think I might be like most people, and I'm kind of disrespecting what SMU did this season. I think they did get in the playoff despite losing the ACC championships. They got a little bit of respect there, but I don't know. This team is obviously, improved since the one regular season loss, and they were really, one of the better teams in college football down the stretch. Oddly enough, the 45-37 game against Oregon for Penn State kind of throws me off. It's like if they would have just lost to Oregon like 20-13, I'd be like, I know who Penn State is. Seeing them give up a 40 spot, getting a shootout like that, I'm like, wait, I don't even know who this team is right now. But I just feel confident. I don't trust Penn State when they're playing the elite teams in college football, and I think that for good reason, right? But SMU is not one of the elite teams in college football. And I feel like if there's one game on the slate this weekend that's a blowout, I think this one has the highest blowout potential by far. I just don't think SMU is going to consistently move the ball on this defense. Like, obviously, Oregon just put up a 45 spot in the Big Ten championship, but SMU is not Oregon, right? So I tend to think Penn State kind of puts the shackles on SMU in this one and wins something like 30-14 or something, and just kind of takes care of business.
Yeah, that's where I am too. I just don't think SMU is going to be able to do it consistently. Again, now if Kevin Jennings has the game of his life and he's just going off, I could see that. But that's like the only possibility for me to pick them, and I'm not going to pick them. I agree. I think Penn State wins this game like 28-13, 28-17, something like that. So I would take the under here as well. I think you're going to get the under in a lot of these games because of the weather. And then you also, whenever you get two pretty good teams evenly matched going up against each other for the most part, you usually hit the under. And at least that's what I found. I could be completely wrong on the bet, but that's what comes to mind when I think about unders and overs in these type of games. But so we're both on Penn State there to cover, win, and also I believe we would both take the under there as well. The next game
what
up.
Is that over under?
52 sorry, 54.
54? Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just because SMU's offense might not do much. I really like Penn State's defense.